On April 14, 1846, the Donner and Reed families left their hometown of Springfield, Illinois, bound for California. The two families marked the beginning of what would be known as the Donner Party. They began with 9 wagons, 15 men, 8 women, and 16 children. Eventually, the party would grow to 23 wagons, a dozen families, 87 people, including 43 children.
Never can I forget the morning when we bade farewell to kindred and friends. The Donners were there, having driven in the evening before with their families, so that we might get an early start. Grandma Keyes was carried out of the house and placed in the wagon on a large feather bed, propped up with pillows. We were surrounded by loved ones, and there stood all my little schoolmates who had come to kiss me goodbye. My father, with tears in his eyes, tried to smile as one friend after another grasped his hand in a last farewell. Mama was overcome with grief. At last the drivers cracked their whips, the oxen moved slowly forward, and the long journey had begun.
The Donner Party arrived in Independence, Missouri on May 10th. Most traveling the trail tried to rest their animals a few weeks in Independence, while they bought supplies and made final preparations before heading out. Chronically late, the Donners and Reeds had roughly 36 hours to buy their supplies before joining up with one of the last parties to leave for the year. Tamsin Donner, wife of George Donner, wrote from Independence about the hustle and bustle of their days in Independence.
It is supposed that there are 7,000 wagons that start from this place. This season, we go to California, to the Bay of Francisco. It is a 4-month trip. We have 3 wagons furnished with food and clothing drawn by 3 yoke of oxen each. We take cows along and milk them and have some butter, though not as much as we would like. I am willing to go and have no doubt it will be an advantage to our children and to us.
As people were milling about Independence, resting their animals and buying supplies, they began to form groups of like-minded immigrants traveling in similar directions. The Donners and Reeds, arriving late to town, had few options. James Reed met up with retired Colonel William Russell, who was leading a group that would bear his name and be known as the Russell Party. The Donners, Reeds, and many others joined him westward. To join a party, all members needed to vote and approve the new additions. Reed, using his political prowess and charm, talked Russell into calling a vote of the members the night before the party headed west. And so, sliding in at the last moment, the Donners, Reeds, Russells, and many others awoke early that morning and began their trip west, hopeful for a new life. Meanwhile, Charles Stanton, a bachelor from New York who had nursed his sick and widowed mother until her end, and now wanted to head west for a new life of adventure, he would find plenty over the next year. After spending a few weeks in Independence, he decided to join the Russell Party, along with the Donners and the Reeds. A prolific writer and member of the Donner Party to the end, he sent many letters home to his brothers back east. In his first letter, he announces he is heading west.
Well, what may surprise you, perhaps, is that I'm going to start for California tomorrow. I met with a good opportunity, and thinking it doubtful whether I should find anything to do in this country, I concluded to go. If you have never read Hastings, Oregon and California, get it and read it. You will see some of the inducements which led me to this step. I am in hopes to get through safe, which I think there is little danger, as we go in such large crowds, that we shall be law unto ourselves, and a protection unto each other.
The Donner Party leaves Independence for their first day on the trail. Milt Elliott, a hired teamster of the Donners, kept a daily journal of the travel along the Oregon Trail.
May 13th, traveled about 16 miles in the rain, bad roads and rainy night.
Leaving late in the season, the Donners were met with wet roads. Even in dry conditions, 2 miles per hour was an ambitious pace. Many times people would sit along the trail, write letters, read, or even nap for a few hours, then catch back up to the teamsters driving the wagons and livestock at a crawl. Edwin Bryant describes his first day on the trail.
I did not overtake the wagon until it had rolled, as the teamster's expression is, about a mile from its starting point, where I found it firmly and immovably stalled in the mud.
Trail log of the Donner Party, May 14th and 15th. Camped at Hart Grove in Jackson County, near the Indian Line, 22 miles from Independence on the Big Blue River.
The Indian Line was the modern-day Kansas and Missouri border. At the time, it marked the edge of the United States territory and the beginning of Native American lands. Due to rain and poor conditions on the trail, the Donners stayed in camp and spent 2 final days in their home country, before departing as immigrants to a foreign land. Over the next few months, they would pass through Indian Territory and then into California, which was still part of Mexico. They were United States citizens, leaving their country, traveling through native lands, and immigrating to Mexico in search of a better life.